Geordies, welcome to another match preview, and this time it's the FA Cup as Newcastle take on Brighton at St James's Park. Now is our chance to get revenge because at the beginning of the season, Brighton came to St James's Park and won 1-0. I actually personally think we were the better side on the day, but that's what Brighton can do to you because Brighton are a very good team. But this tournament, this year, is a big opportunity. So before we get into things, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on another bit of content. But this year specifically is a massive opportunity for teams like Brighton, Newcastle, Fulham, Bournemouth to reach yet another cup final. Since 1978, apart from Manchester City and United, no other team left in the FA Cup this season has won the competition. Liverpool are out, Arsenal are out, Chelsea are out, Tottenham are out. What a big opportunity. So I expect Newcastle United to go quite strong in this game because we haven't got a game for another week. So personally, if I'm Newcastle, you don't need to make 7 to 8 changes like we did against Birmingham. Maybe 2 or 3 changes just to freshen it up, rotate things. But I do expect Joe Linton and Sven Botman both to start just so they can get up to speed, get their match sharpness right. That's only if they don't feel any injuries in today's training session. But look, I think we actually got handed one of the toughest draws. Apart from Manchester City, Brighton are the next team you don't want to face. But I fancy Newcastle against anybody at St James's Park. But Brighton won't be easy. They've put together a very well-balanced squad. Brighton is a tough game, no matter if it's away from home or even at home. They beat us 1-0 earlier on in the season, remember? So the thing I like about Brighton is when they do rotate their side, their quality doesn't drop. All their players are just as good as each other. So even with a changed Brighton 11, they're still dangerous and incredibly difficult to predict. So it's going to be very interesting to see what Eddie Howe does because he tends to take the cup competitions very seriously, and so he should because we're craving for a trophy. We've got the EFL Cup final coming up, but why not make it to another cup final? We've got no European football this season to give us a reason to field a weakened squad. Let's go out, try and win this game because I really believe one of these teams have a really good chance of reaching the cup final, whoever comes out on top. So let's touch upon what we can expect from Brighton. And Brighton are one of my favourite teams to watch because they're fascinating in the way they just rotate and change formations. So they are incredibly difficult to predict. And Fabian Hurtzler's style of football, frequently he adopts his formation, shifting from a 4-2-4 to a 4-3-3 to a 4-1-4-1, all in between games depending on different scenarios. So everybody knows Brighton like to build up the play out from the back. It's fluid build up, mixing between a 4-2-4, 4-3-3 and a 3-5-2 depending on the opposition. So I had a look at them against a 4-3-3 like Newcastle. So Brighton's double pivot engages in everything they do. They are the link between defense and attack, so we need to stop that double pivot in the middle of the park. Fabian Hurtzler trusts his players on the ball. In tight situations, Brighton are extremely good, but they're very direct and don't get the credit for the directness that they do show week in, week out. So in the attacking phase, when transitioning, Brighton's style is about penetrating space. They've got players that are comfortable running in behind, but they've also got players comfortable receiving defeat. So they're very well balanced, and they've got wonderful dribblers in their side. So they like to isolate you in one-on-one situations and try and eliminate opponents out the game that way. But I mentioned earlier, Brighton's double pivot is pivotal to everything they do. And what they tend to do is have their double pivot moving into a vertical style. This allows them to play through the lines very easily. So we're going to have to adapt our approach to shut that down. Once we shut that down, we'll be able to run on top of Brighton. But one key thing I've noticed in Brighton's structure is once they do move the ball into the midfield, this is where they shift into a 4-3-3, where they prioritize width and quick combinations in the half spaces. Then once that happens, their fullbacks support the wingers by pushing up high, creating overloads in the wide areas. And I'm not sitting here just trying to big up Brighton, but they've got a wonderful balanced squad because Carlos Baleba is extraordinary in that midfield. Comfortable in tight areas, he's combative off the ball. And they started Diego Gomez next to him last game. I expect him to do the same this time round as well because he's just as combative. And against Newcastle United, you need physicality in that midfield. And then they've got Jorginho Rutter, who's comfortable between the lines, 5 goals in his last 8 games. And then they've got the option, do they start Welbeck or do they start João Pedro up front? They've also got options out wide. They've got a Dringer who can start. They've got Yakumba Minta, who's definitely going to come back and haunt us. And they've also got Matoma. So Brighton do have options. And another player I even forgot about is Brajan Gruda. So Brighton have a depth of talent and who can punish in the final third at any opportunity. So we need to prevent them getting in that final third, because if they do, they're very dangerous. But going forwards, Brighton are excellent, like I've just mentioned. But their defense is starting to show signs of vulnerability, especially with Lewis Dunk being injured. So we need to exploit space between their defenders and midfielders. So before we get on to the starting 11, let's look at how we can exploit that space and really beat Brighton. So let's use overlapping and underlapping runs from our attack midfielders and also our fullback. And everybody knows Brighton are known for their high press, high line. So let's be direct when we do get the ball. Let's be brave, move the ball into space, use the space to our advantage, see if we can miss out the middleman and play more direct, hit the forwards if we have to. Let's be aggressive and intense on the ball. Now, I always say there's a way and there's an art of controlling games without the ball. And that's what you need to do against a team like Brighton. So you need to get your pressing system, your defensive shape on point. So everybody knows Brighton like to play out from the back. So pressing a 4-4-2 system, because what this does is cuts out the passing lanes, but also shuts down Brighton moving the ball into those midfielders, like I mentioned earlier. So cut out the passing lanes and space to force Brighton into a negative pass. What's a negative pass? A sideways pass or a backwards pass. Because once they do that negative pass or make a negative touch, that's when you press aggressively and force a high turnover. So when you play against a team that's building up from the back, it's all about timing your moments and your movements to apply pressure. So ideally, what you want to do is force the game into loads of mini individual battles. This would suit Newcastle style, because once we do force a turnover, we can isolate them in one-on-one situations, but you've also got more space to roam into. Compact the middle of the pitch in a triangular midfield three. So have one player in front of their midfield two and the other two players just marking their midfield two. So you've got one player cutting out the passing lanes and the other two players being aggressive. When the ball does arrive in the midfield, they can snap the ball on their first touch. So it's important that you keep things nice and compact. And we actually did this in our previous game at St. James's Park. We had a higher XG, we created more big chances, we had more possession, which is very rare in a game against Brighton, but Brighton won 1-0. I just thought we're unlucky on the day. So if we do something similar, that fortune could change round. Now, this is a starting 11 we had against Birmingham City. I don't expect Eddie Howe to make as many changes as I expect. This is my predicted starting 11. Now, I think Dubravka and Pope, you can pick or choose. I think he will go with Dubravka because it looks like Pope is back in our Premier League team. And then I think he's going to start Trippier right back, more for the experience more than anything. But also, Tino started against Liverpool, so he's probably looking just to rotate it. Fabian Shaw, because to me, personally, I think Dan Burn needs a rest. And if Botman's fit, I would start him because he needs to get Matt Shaw. Then I would definitely start Lewis Hall over Matt Target at left back. And this is vital because if they do stop Minta on the right wing, we need Lewis Hall's energy and pace to keep up with that. Tonali in the midfield, again, because I think he needs minutes under his belt. Lewis Miley deserves a start, and I think he will start. Quality in possession, he'll give us a lot more control, but he's also combative out of possession as well. Joe Linton, for the similar reasons as Sven Botman, he's been injured, he needs minutes under his belt, he needs to get up to match sharpness before that cup final. Then this is where it gets interesting, because on that right hand side you can start with Sula, you can start Murphy. Personally, I would start with Sula. I think he showed us what he could do against Birmingham and he deserves another chance, so I would start with Sula, and it also gives Murphy a little bit of respite, a little bit of time off. On the left wing, if you're going to start with Sula on the right wing, I would start Gordon on the left wing, just so we've at least got one out of the three starting, whether that be Murphy, Isak or Gordon. Isak's injured, and if you're going to rest Murphy, who's played a hell of a lot of minutes this season, let's play Gordon on the left. If you start Murphy on the right, let's play Harvey Barnes on the left. And then we all know Callum Wilson will start up front because Alexander Isak, it's not worth risking him. But that would certainly be my starting 11. That's obviously if Joe Linton and Sven Botman are fit. If not, I would probably start Dan Burn and bring Willock in. And the only reason I say that is because Bruno does look a bit tired. He does need a little bit of a rest. He's played a hell of a lot of minutes throughout this season, and his form is starting to dip. So can we rest him for this game and try not to burn him out before that cup final? But that would be my starting 11. Now, I want to hear your starting 11. Let us know in the comments below. But I'm also going to give you my prediction. I'm going to go Newcastle United 2, Brighton 1. I've been seeing 3-2 in my head all week, but I'm going to stick with 2-1. But look, I want to hear your thoughts. Let us know in the comments below what your starting 11 would be. Also, your prediction for the game. And is there anything I've missed out on? Let us know in the comments below. But before you leave, make sure you hit that like button. button, hit that subscribe button. Until next time, away the lads.